Hello, everybody. Drew here for Drew Out Underground, back with Breaking Rocks 68, the future of gaming. A lot of news has been coming out recently for gaming-related stuff. But joining me is my younger brother, Desert Nord. Hey, bro.
Hey there. How you doing?
Your brother, Desert Nord. Hey, bro. And what have you been up to lately?
Just playing the same stuff everybody else is, Oblivion and such.
Well, that's a little vague.
I said Oblivion and such.
Oh,
It's not
I
vague.
thought you said things and such.
No, I said Oblivion.
Oh.
Yeah.
I forgot to play something. Hold on a sec here. Here it is.
We love our home, and if you don't, pack your bags, you're free to go. Don't let the big door hit you with a good Lord split you. Wave goodbye to Joe.
That's better.
Yeah.
So, with that being said,
sometimes we just have to pick an intro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because some of the stuff is getting a little old here
Yeah.
at this point. But on that note, as you guys see the title, Xbox is pictured. We will get into that in just a few minutes. But before we do, first topic I got here is the PSN outage. That was several months ago. That happened after the last Breaking Rocks that we did, and before this one, obviously, because we took time away from doing any of this, because our second niece had been born recently. And we didn't know exactly when we would get back to doing this because of all that stuff. So, with that in mind, I think it was in February. I don't remember the exact time frame, but I do remember getting a text message from a friend of mine from Minnesota who used to be on the channel, well, on the other channel of Drew Games with me, Chris. Him texting me asking me if the PSN or if I was having issues getting online on my PS5. Apparently, at the time, all of the PlayStation Network had been hacked again. Bro?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a continual problem with the PSN network there. It's not that secure.
It's always happening to them.
And it's difficult to say why they're so dumb about it. I mean, for lack of a better word, I mean it seems pretty stupid.
Yeah.
It's not hard to secure a network if you try. But it seems like the PlayStation network, just the people who run it just don't really care about. They don't really care that much about, the security of their users, like at all.
Yeah.
They keep on getting this happening over and over and over.
Yeah. And evidently during this time, no one could access playing their games at the time.
Sure, which is on the user end what pissed everybody off about it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the settings, apparently you can fidget with that to have access to your stuff that is downloaded on your PS5 if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was playing mostly on my Xbox over here, I was not involved in any of the headache of anything. I only knew about it from the text from my friend who was complaining about it, and also watching other people's coverage of the situation at the time. One of the benefits of, for me at least, playing on Steam, Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation, if I'm off on another device at the time, I'm not going to notice what's going on.
Yeah.
At the time.
The upside of having multiple devices,
platforms to play on,
across different consoles, is that you can just say, okay, well, that one's down, I'll go play the other one.
Yeah. Which we will get into the difference between the things later on when we talk about price hikes and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Which I got a lot to say, and one thing that I do want to say about Sony coming up for that too. But on that note, when it comes to playing games digital only, I don't want anyone to get offended by this, but it's just my opinion. If you're playing games digitally and not buying anything physical, you're a moron, bro.
Well, I mean, again, it shouldn't come as any surprise to anyone that,
Yeah.
if you play all digital, you don't actually own the games you're playing. And if the network, for whatever reason, is down and you can't connect to it, then you cannot play your games that you have paid for.
And coincidentally, it's mostly what Xbox is today, is a digital platform.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get more into that in just a little
Yeah,
bit.
primarily it is because, I mean, you can get a physical copy of games, but it's not that easy these days. And it's
Yeah.
certainly not the primary source of people's gaming habit now. The primary
Yeah.
source is digital download gaming. So,
Mm-hmm. Like physical copy, as
I mean,
in
it
this
has
right here.
it has its upsides, okay? The upside being that it's space saving, right? So you
Yeah.
don't have to store discs, right? So that's a small upside to it, right? And in theory, it could have been, isn't, but could have been cheaper. But that didn't turn out to be the case either, because they wouldn't let it.
Yeah.
They'll make a digital game, and despite being able to create, be over there in the corner creating copies of it just by pressing enter on their keyboard, they're still gonna charge $80 for the game, like it's like handcrafted the damn discs or something,
Yeah.
So it didn't. Despite the fact that it should have lowered prices, it never did. It never lowered prices. But it did do the space saving thing. It was a space saving adventure. But the other thing, the big negative, you don't own your games. And at any time, the developer, studio, service provider, whatever, can be out of business, shut down, whatever reason, and then you can't play the game you paid for.
Yeah, unless you own it physically, and even a lot of times now, even if you own it physically, chances are the disc ain't gonna work.
Oh yeah, and then there's
Either.
that.
So, unless you still own an original Xbox like I do back there, or a 360, the gaming industry, more or less, can just get to tell you, go fuck yourself.
And the other thing that happened in the simultaneous way to that is everybody ditched their old consoles, or at least a lot of people did. The majority of people did. They have new consoles, right? And so when they got rid of their old ones become harder to come by. And they become more expensive. So even later on, going back and trying to set yourself up with the old console and the old ways becomes just as expensive as trying to set yourself up on the new way. Because the old consoles are just as hard to find as the new consoles are expensive. And so, I mean, you end up in a situation where, because of the digital revolution in gaming, you're screwed if you do, screwed if you don't.
Yeah. Quick question though.
Doing what you're doing ends up being very expensive too.
Out of curiosity, how many old consoles do you still have, bro?
Well, got a Game Boy Color that still works. Got a couple of Xboxes, 2 of them, I believe, 360s, that is.
And you gave me one broken one, so thank you by the way for that.
Well, that was the old one you used to have. Same one.
Yeah. That's sitting in the closet right up there.
But the only broken part about that's just the tray and the reader that need to be fixed on that one. It's not like it's not a red ring of death system.
So you give me an Xbox that doesn't know how to read.
It's getting bad with it, because that reader is like an original. So, that's like coming up on 20 years old. It needs to be, fixed.
Well,
anyway,
it ain't gonna. It's just in my console museum in my closet.
But yeah. Anyway, and then there's
my
the
Xbox
Switch.
One X that won't turn on anymore.
And then there's the Switch, which doesn't count necessarily as an old console, but whatever.
Well, that's technically still a new console until, well, we'll get into that when we talk about the Switch 2 in just a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's technically not an old console because that's still current for the
Yeah.
time being.
So not that I don't have that many. Certainly don't have as many as you do.
So then, if the gaming industry shuts down, you're one of the ones that'll be taking it up the ass.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. If the console industry or if the networks shut down,
Yeah.
all right, first of all, there'd be hell to pay. But for starters,
Mm-hmm.
I don't spend all day, every day gaming, and it's not like it isn't really like something that will break my mind if I don't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where there's a lot of people, they literally have no other hobbies. Like they game 24/7. When they're awake, they're online. That's not me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I game when I have time, and I have other hobbies. So
Yeah. But in talking about Nintendo, as you were just a few minutes ago, our next topic, the Nintendo Switch 2, which is coming just a few days before my birthday on June 5th.
yep. And the controversy surrounding it.
Yeah, and we're getting into that right now because we haven't had the chance to say our piece on it.
Yeah.
So, everybody remembers the Nintendo Switch presentation in which they didn't mention any price. They just showed a bunch of games. Everyone thought it was a great presentation until they went onto the website afterwards because they refused to tell you how much the Nintendo Switch 2 and its games were going to cost. Right?
Yeah.
And then everyone went on their website, and much like Angry Joe did in 2013, he had a rant video up that same day, more or less, ranting about it, going, "Are you fucking nuts?" Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, here's why everybody was raging, even though everyone thought it was a great presentation, all the games looked beautiful, blah, blah, blah. I won't go too far. The Nintendo Switch 2 base console, $449.99 MSRP.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping in mind that the regular Switch that you currently have, that I gave you when I got a Switch OLED, was about 200 something, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is like easily like $150 more than that. And if you want Mario Kart World Bundle, it's going to cost you the same price up until recently as an Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
Now, before the price hike of the Xbox, this was the same price of the Xbox Series X. Now, that's going to be going up, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes as well, because that's a big deal too. But now, when I saw the price tag for the system, I'm like, that's not that bad. For a system that's going to be in handheld or console mode, that you can play all the current software that the PS5 down here or the Xbox Series X back there can play, that's actually pretty good price for that, right?
You'd think. Yeah.
So for me, the system price and then the bundle for Mario Kart World, personally, I got no issue with. The issue comes in at the price of the games. So let's look at Mario Kart World, $79.99. That's where the problem comes in.
Yeah.
Nord?
Oh yeah. No, $79.99 for new games is really starting to push it. We're not in the era of base games being $50 anymore. apparently we've somehow floated into the era of now every game is nearly $100.
And now, the new Donkey Kong Bonanza, $69.99, the same as current gen games.
Yep.
Meanwhile,
and the thing is that if you try to buy older games, you'll discover that some of the older games are keeping up with the new games in price too because of scarcity.
yeah, let's look at Hades 2 for a second. Or at least let's try to. Okay, I guess it didn't go there. Available winter. But the point I'm trying to make is here, while Nintendo said that it'll have variable pricing for its games, not every game's going to be $80. Not every game's going to be $90 for physical. Not every game's going to be this or that. Actually, which does remind me. Come on, you stupid website. Okay, so digital for Donkey Kong is $69. Physical is also $69. Let's try typing this in here to try to get back to Mario Kart. Here we go. Mario Kart World. Digital, 79. Physical, okay, it's also 79 according to this. Which a lot of people have also been talking about misinformation about this, that, and the other thing, physical games being $80. According to Nintendo's website, physical and digital are both the same price. So there you go for that.
Which is weird because one of them actually takes actual labor to produce a copy of.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one does not.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I understand.
Meanwhile, Steam has digital games for a hell of a lot fucking cheaper. I'm just saying.
Yeah. The part that's worrisome about that math on that is that despite the logic, they somehow managed to find a reason that the game has to be exactly the same price, even when it really shouldn't be the same price.
Yeah.
There's no logic. I mean, other than the made-up excuses they come up with, there's no logic to why a digital game should be exactly the same price as a physical game.
But keeping in mind, that's also the base game. Because if you include, like, expansion passes, season passes, you're talking, like, $100 for not even still the complete game at that point.
Uh-huh. Which is the problem with one of the problems with modern gaming in general.
Yeah.
Is these incomplete games.
Mm-hmm. So with that, your thoughts on what the Switch 2 is going to be going through at launch on June 5th?
Well, there's a lot of complaining going on, obviously. But I don't know. It's kind of the gaming community gets away with whatever they can. Just kind of like, I mean, the developer community gets away with whatever they can. If people buy the product, they're giving the signal that they like what they're being given.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is about it is, if you want them to do things differently, then you need to abstain from buying their product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
you need to let them know why you're abstaining from buying their product.
What I'm expecting is a similar market reaction from gamers, much like Xbox One at the time in 2013 and 14
It's
time frame.
it's exactly the same thing we talk about with woke media and woke gaming and woke
Yeah.
movies and stuff. Like, if everybody goes to see it and they make all the money anyway, they're not going to get the signal that people have a problem with it. But if people don't want to go see it and don't go see it and they stay home, or they don't buy it, whatever it may be, then they get to say, oh, we did something wrong here. Maybe we should change things. And then they'll say, let's do some market research and find out what we did wrong. See, that's normal company logic, right? That's normally
Yeah.
how companies do things. They make a mistake, they want to know what it was so that they don't do it again. Because the goal is to make sales. They're not, this is what originally what made corporate games so heartless, was because they only cared about money, right? But then
Hmm.
the only way they went about changing was to make themselves dumb and hyper political, which was not the way everybody wanted them to be. The way everybody wanted them to be was to change in order to care more about the art, care more about the gamer, care more about what people who play a certain IP want to see in a game, not care more
Yeah.
about politically charged shit. That's apparently what they ended up thinking we wanted, but it isn't. We never wanted that.
And speaking of price hikes and nonsense, Xbox's turn. Because
Yeah.
Xbox apparently didn't like being left out of controversial bullshit, even though Xbox is in last place of all the platforms. Right?
Yeah.
So Xbox Series X, the price, and by the way, the console prices apparently have gone into effect already on the 1st of May of this year. The
Yeah.
games supposedly will take effect by this holiday season. Oh joy for mom and dad trying to buy their kids a Christmas present. But Xbox Series X price has increased from $499 to $599, with the digital Series X price now at $549, and the Series X 2 terabyte Galaxy Special at $729.99. The Xbox Series S price has increased from $499. Okay, someone mistyped here. From $499 to $379. That's not an increase there in your typing.
Yeah.
So, if I read this correctly, it's supposed to be from $379 to $499.
Yeah.
For the 512 gigabyte version, and $429 for the 1 terabyte version. That's horribly typed and mistyped entirely, because it's saying that it's going down from $500. That's wrong. Because both the $379 and the $429 is less than $499. Whoever typed that is a moron.
Yeah, they meant up, I guess.
Fuck if I know. All I know is if the 1 terabyte version of the Series S is now $429 instead of $499, that's not a price increase then. Somebody either that's going down, which I doubt, or someone mistyped this, which I think is the case. But moving on, wireless controllers have price increased from $59.99 to $64.99, yeah, for the base model, with some controllers remaining the same price. Okay, whatever. Headsets prices have increased in the United States and Canada, with stereo headsets now priced at $64.99 and wireless headsets at $119.99. New first-party games for some new first-party games will be raised to $79.99 for this holiday season. and this all came immediately off of the release of, for $49.99 with all DLC included, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Take another drink, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time I mention Oblivion, take a drink of whatever drink you're drinking.
Yeah.
Because we're going to mention that quite a bit in this one, too. Much like we did in the Game Awards on the other channel last weekend. Or whenever that was. So, with all of this in mind, Nintendo taking a page out of Xbox One's playbook and fucking themselves over for the next generation right out of the gate, right?
I suppose so, yeah.
Xbox went, you can't do that, that's our move. Bing, here we go.
Yeah.
Which leads me to this question. And a lot of people have been assuming that Sony is going to follow suit with PlayStation. Here's the thing, Sony and PlayStation. If you do, all three of you are only going to be giving people even more reason to abandon console gaming and go to PC and Steam.
Yeah.
Which has already been happening. All this is going to do is just open the floodgates even fucking harder. In other words, the console gaming crash, the last one to finish opening Pandora's box is Sony and PlayStation now. And Nintendo and Xbox have, in my opinion, at this point, take it for what it's worth, everyone, put Sony in the position to either open that box and begin the console gaming collapse, or make Sony and PlayStation look even better, if not almost as good as they did in 2013 with all the Xbox One DRM horseshit.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. Which
means, I say to those of you at Sony and PlayStation that work for PlayStation, the proverbial ball's in your court now. Will you condemn console gaming to collapse, or will you stand in the way like Donald Trump stands in the way of political corruption? The choice is yours. Anything you want to add, bro?
The thing I was going to say about it is, like, it's a complete, utter mystery what forms the basis of the cost of a game these days.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get a AAA game that's like $90, and then you'll look into it and you'll play it and be like, wait a second. Not only is this not that expansive, there's tons of DLCs that I have to pay even more for.
And also, usually at launch, it's a glitchy mess. Anyone who pre-orders a game is a playtester.
It's like they literally didn't test their product before they released it.
Yeah,
or if they did, they were like, well, it's got bugs. We don't know what to do. We're just hopeless and we don't dev right. And that's all there is to it. Like, basically the quality is down, the price is up, and none of it really computes really logically.
Yeah.
Because you would think with, technology being what it is, games being completely so much easier to develop these days than they ever were in the past.
Yeah.
That can't be denied. Games are easier than ever to develop. I mean, you can get a team of 6 or 7 people together and you can build a good game.
Not even. You could just make one by yourself.
Yeah, or that. I'm just saying a good game. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of limiting it to where, if you did everything right by yourself, that's kind of amazing. Because you'd have to be a literal genius to do everything perfect by yourself.
I'm not saying this game was made by one person. It was like by 3 people, give or take. But Cuphead.
Yeah, no, I know. And again, it's an example. My point is it's easier than ever to develop games. Right?
Yeah.
So the fact that the AAA studios with hundreds of employees and 17 directors and 2 or 3 producers.
And
And
$500 million that you
yeah,
sink
and
into a
500
game.
million. Yeah, and $500 million in 6, 7, 8 years of development. Can't make a game that works.
And then you release it, and then within the week, all servers shut down, and no one can play the game anymore. Concord.
Yeah, no, that's why we talk about it as being a spectacular face
Yeah.
plant. One of the
Yeah.
most spectacular face plants in all of
However,
gaming history, really.
in games that do deserve to be praised, this one got a re-release recently, and in spite of any controversies around it, which we'll get into in a minute, start drinking yourself under the table, everybody. It's Oblivion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, Steam, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's on the Switch. I haven't looked.
Yeah, I don't think this. Well, I could say I don't think the Switch would handle it, but never mind. That's probably not true. It probably could handle
Well,
it.
the Switch 2 probably will, so it'll probably be on there.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it'll still be the same price as it is on the platforms, but I don't know. Because I don't want to tell you that it will be, and it turns out that it is more. And I don't want to tell you that it's more, as it turns out it's the same price. So I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Because unlike others, if I don't know for certain, I don't want to say it. But what I do know for certain is that Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered lives up to the original game from 2006 with a modern coat of paint graphically in Unreal Engine 5.
Dude, I mean, it's if you consider the fact that one of the only downsides the game ever had was its looks and its sort of dialogue function. Mm-hmm. That was literally the only things that anyone's ever like knocked it for, because the storyline is amazing. The lore is right there with everything else related to Elder Scrolls. And the only thing it ever needed was what they've given it, which is now it looks like Skyrim. It looks better than Skyrim.
In some cases, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, really. I mean, I'm talking to people who played Skyrim's latest version, and it is better than Skyrim in terms of looks.
I'm one of them.
So it's joined the annals almost instantaneously as an equal footing to Skyrim.
Yeah, and I do promise to play this live on YouTube on the other channel, Drudite Games, soon, guys. So, because I do have it for both PlayStation. Well, I have it on Xbox through Game Pass, but I do have it digitally on the PS5. So, So on the contrary to what some people are saying, Game Pass is blah blah blah, preventing people from buying games. I bought it for PlayStation and I have it through Game Pass on Xbox. So go fuck yourself.
So it came out a week and a half ago, right? I believe that would be what it would be.
April 22nd.
April 22nd. Well, that's like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I myself have put 50 hours into it already in 2 weeks.
That's not surprising considering how many hours we both put into the original release on the Xbox 360.
Yeah, so what that tells you is that despite it being a 20-year-old game, which it is, it is equal to any new release. It is
I would say better than any release in 2025 so far.
Yeah, no, and that's the reason it had 4.5 million players suddenly jumping into it.
Yeah,
because we all knew that Oblivion was a good game. Even back then, it was a good game. In fact, it was an amazing game back then. Now it's a great game we all remember at modern graphic levels.
Yeah,
So
and
now
here,
you can enjoy the game you love without hurting your eyeballs.
yeah, and here,
You know what I mean?
the base game with all of the DLC is $49.99 on Steam, and the deluxe edition is what was the 360's base game price of $59.99 during that generation for the deluxe edition, which comes with the soundtrack, which some woke pieces of shit out there are going, oh, Jeremy Soule. Yeah, go fuck yourself. It's just allegations.
Okay, so what I was gonna say though is that you also get you get 2 extra quests and you get armor sets for both your horses and yourself for that
Yeah.
deluxe edition price also.
Yeah,
Which
and
is
then
not a whole lot, mind you, but it is something.
and then if you don't want to spend the $60, you can spend
you
it
can
anyway.
you can spend the $20 it is to buy Game Pass and play it anyway
Or
because it's on Game Pass.
you could just spend the $20 for Game Pass, then the $10 for the additional deluxe content, which is the soundtrack and everything,
Mm-hmm.
for $10. So therefore, you're only spending $30.
Yep. And you're getting possibly the best game of the year
Yeah,
for
definitely.
$30.
Far and away, I don't expect any remaster or remake to top this for this year. So we're
It'd be a
arguably
challenge, yeah.
we're probably looking at the remake of the year for 2025 here
Mm-hmm.
already.
Yep.
But also in other news, when it comes to
Yeah, it's as good a remake as any of the Final Fantasy remakes have been.
but in other news, when it comes to Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remaster, take another drink, everybody. The body type selector controversy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because initially on Nexus here, when the mods that got made to change the body type selector from type 1 or type 2 to male and female, which it was in the original fucking game in 2006,
Yeah.
those mods got banned from Nexus.
Sure. Returning the game to its original state got you banned from Nexus.
Because we all know Nexus's managers, whatever, are woke pieces of shit. We all know that.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, it's amazing the hills that they choose to die on here. It's amazing. It's like literally there are people supposedly in the game community, who would be so offended to see male and female listed there as the only 2 choices that they literally would boycott the game. Oh boy. People who don't even play the fucking game boycotting the game.
Except for in spite of this issue, it's still fucking selling because it's selling on Jeremy Soule's music. It's selling on the Unreal Engine 5 graphics. It's selling on the original feel of the original game from 2006 and everything that comes with that.
Sure, which is a classic Elder Scrolls game and possibly right there with Skyrim as the greatest. I mean, there would be a serious debate of whether or not this or that is the greatest Elder Scrolls game at this point.
Yeah.
There's a serious debate about that.
Yeah, but with the body type Nexus controversy, Nexus was forced to unban the stuff because the problem for Nexus is now they're not the only major mod site for games anymore.
Yep, they have
There's a bunch of them. So they alienate fucking everyone. Everyone goes away. They go to all these other sites. What happens to Nexus? Flush.
Yeah, no, they just like a lot of other companies, they're flushing their entire bottom line down the toilet for the sake of ESG points. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as it says right here.
For the sake of making a tiny minority of the fan base supposedly happy. As if this even did that. the ironic part about it is changing it from male to female to body type 1 and 2 didn't even satisfy the Transformer community. It didn't even satisfy them. They weren't happy with that. They wanted a third option. They didn't want body type 1 and 2. They wanted a third gender.
Yeah, so as this reads right here, community notice regarding this mod. This mod has been and likely will continue to be a source of controversy within the community, only because you don't like it.
What the fuck is the mod? The mod wasn't the controversy. The controversy was them banning the mod.
Yeah.
The mod only modifies the game back to its original state.
Yeah. After a thorough review, we have determined that the content in this mod itself does not violate our community guidelines. Obviously.
After a thorough understanding that we're being retarded, we decided to stop being retarded.
After a thorough bitch slap across the internet for banning it. Yeah. However, due to the nature of the topic, which often attracts intense and sometimes hostile discussions, by your side, the comment section will remain locked to prevent further escalation, i.e., we're disabling the comment section.
Uh-huh.
Like on YouTube, when you say something that normal thinking people will go, whoa, what the fuck? Then you disable your comments so you can't hear from any sane human beings. You only want to hear from your little isolated bubble of woke nonsense.
Well, sure. And then again, the biggest problem with what they did here was they were hoping that nobody noticed. And what they were doing was changing something absolutely primary to the, it is primary to the play experience of the game. It's how your character appears. If you don't care about how your character looks, they wouldn't create a character creator system in the game. They would just say, here's a character, here's who you're playing as, you can't change it, it is what it is. If they didn't want to give you a character creator, then that's whatever. That's fine.
Going back to what you said about Nexus trying to do this without anyone noticing, the problem with that is they have a history of doing this shit. So everybody was going to notice, because everybody noticed when they did it with the American flag and the Pride flag in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't their first attempt at this type of BS.
It's only the most recent. And they got bitch slapped by the internet for it, to the point where, because there's all these other mod sites that are increasingly getting more popular, and also like this one, like BD Mods or something or another, which also, according to reports that I've seen, have had public statements of, this is a free speech site, so go ahead and upload your mods that Nexus doesn't like right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's their competition.
And then what'll happen, of course, since it's never about them wanting to do something. It's about them wanting to prevent everyone else from doing something. Right?
Yeah. So
it's not about what they wanted to do. It's about what they wanted to make sure no one else can do. But yet they pretend to be the victim here.
Yeah, so in continuing to read through this.
So what they'll then do is they'll go and they'll run to Congress or some power entity that has the power to shut down their competition for, quote unquote hate, and they'll use that power leverage to try and shut BD mods down for being out of compliance with what they define as moral. That's literally where we're at with these people.
Yeah.
And yet they're still somehow the victim here. Somehow.
So in continuing with this, why was the original upload removed? There has been a lot of speculation and misinformation regarding the removal of the original upload. Oh, really? To clarify, the mod was not taken down because of its content. Bullshit!
Okay. Right. Uh-huh. I'm supposed to believe that.
As stated in the ban notice, it was removed due to uploaders' behavior.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah, right. Sure.
In the comments, the uploader expressed an intent to incite drama and endorse an external site explicitly designed to host inflammatory content. Right, sure.
Oh, right. That's so literally just like completely misconstrue the entire situation.
Yeah, I'm not even going to read this last sentence because this is completely fucking bogus here.
Of course it is.
We
It's
recognize.
cope. It's literally cope at losing the competition.
Yeah, we recognize that the mods like this can bring sensitive discussions around gender and identity to the forefront. While that is true, while these are important conversations, our problem exists to support creative expression and modding, which you don't fucking do.
Right. So it's only creative if it agrees with their political point of view.
That's exactly the thing. Not to serve a battleground for broader cultural or political debates. That's exactly what you're doing.
Right. So they don't serve as a place for a battleground for modern cultural debates. Then why the fuck?
Then why did you ban it in the first place then?
Then I mean, like literally, they're like, no politics allowed. It's like, well, then why did you ban it then?
What we will not tolerate is trolling, harassment, discrimination, or any other form of toxic
No discrimination.
in these discussions may provoke.
No discrimination while we discriminate. Only we get to do that. Only we get to discriminate.
To the Nexus managers, I will ask you this: do you want to be the pot or the kettle calling the other black? In this case, do you want to be the racist calling someone who you deem as problematic racist while being racist towards them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they really just don't care anymore. I mean, they've stepped in it and they don't know how to step out of it at this point. Now they're just smearing shit everywhere they can possibly go.
Yeah. Indeed.
And yet they want to act like they didn't do anything wrong. It's like when you guys have a game and an uploader for a mod says, "Hey, look, I just want to mod the game to its original frickin' state." They shouldn't be like, "Oh, well, that's controversial." It's like, guys, the only reason it's controversial is because you're allowing people who find the original game controversial to be in your site, telling you what to do. They let the door in for hyper-political, woke people. They let them in. And now that's all that's in there. That's all that's in Nexus. They can't see the politics that they are a part of because they're a part of it.
Yeah.
And it's willful ignorance to not think your ideas aren't political, but everybody else's are. That's just narcissism running wild at that point.
Yeah.
Like the idea that the gender of the game should have been changed to begin with is hyper political. The existence of genders is not hyper political.
In order to claim that, you're going to have to claim that God is hyper political.
Well, I mean, at that point, the person is arguing that everything is political. Literally everything is. The very existence of mankind itself is political at that point.
So, in other words, if
The fact that I'm even allowed to call it mankind is political to these people.
According to these weirdos, if I leaned over and farted, that would be a political statement.
I mean, again, everything is political with them. So for them to say, "Oh, well, we don't want anything political on our site," oh, I'm sure you don't. I'm sure if we go looking at your Nexus mod list, we won't find anything political. Oh, sure. I'm sure we won't. I'm
However,
thinking that's just a lie.
I got through all my topics, and we do have one more that Nord brought with.
Yeah.
And speaking of political fucking statements, time to talk about Sweet Baby Inc.
Again.
South of Midnight. You
Yep.
want to talk about political fucking statements. When reports about a game coming out of them race swapping from a white character to a black character and then making the character into voodoo.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who's the racist here? Because I'm getting confused now. Because us anti-wokes, like Nord and myself, have been called racist time and again to the point where it doesn't mean anything anymore. And then yet we see this shit.
Yeah, the thing is, okay, and we have to always repeat it apparently over and over.
And the cherry on top, this is an Xbox Game Studios game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a first party game from fucking Xbox.
Yep. What I was going to say is we seem to always have to tap the sign, so to speak, to remind them.
And look at these reviews. Very positive. My ass.
Very positive. Yeah. You know, that's the ironic part about it. You'll get a game like that.
Let's look at some of this.
Yeah.
Love the art, music, and the story. Okay, you're into racism. Okay, got it. The gameplay was a bit repetitive, but I stuck with it for the story. Here's a much longer one. The game was overall really good. There was a lot to really love about this game, and it's definitely worth a play. The parts of this game that are good are really good, and the story, the atmosphere, the music, all of it is a love letter to the South and its folklore that really hasn't shown up in a video game like this before. In other words, what my brain hears when I hear this part about it's a love letter to the South, you mean the Confederate South?
No. See, what they mean is the modern. They mean the modern, like, you know, Kang's South, so to speak. The modern South that views itself as morally superior, despite literally no evidence, and everybody else is oppressing us to sort of culture.
Look at this.
Okay, there's one. The Oppression Olympics is popular.
One negative.
Yeah. The Oppression Olympics is popular simply because a lot of people like their own position in the Oppression Olympics.
There's one not positive one here.
It offers people a lot of ways to be oppressed even when they're not.
Yeah.
And therefore be a victim.
It's not a bad game. It's just nothing. It's just some vague entertainment piece with no purpose or substance. The only good thing that can be said about it, it's pretty character design and fresh and enticing. Landscapes are vivid, color and lighting are on point. Everything else is just mid-mash of useful game mechanics that serve no purpose. Maybe devs wanted to make the hell's this word? I'm not even going to try. And then
I can't read it. I mean, I can't see it, literally.
Well, whatever. And then had to cut costs halfway. I don't know, but what's left is basically a glorified QTE sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least that with that negative review, it was actual criticism of the game mechanics.
Yeah.
This person, this is my new favorite game. Scheduled to get some tattoos for some of the characters. Okay, you're just a woke jackass. Then, so tell me that you're a woke mind hive, brain dead twat by saying you want to get tattoos for characters of this piece of shit.
Imagine. See, this is the thing. That's what's going to happen every time you have a game that has a niche audience, right? Though,
Yeah,
they say it's appealing to a broader audience, right? That was their excuse. That's the Sweet Baby Inc. excuse for what they do with games,
yeah,
right? But what happens is now everybody in the broader community goes, "Oh, Sweet Baby's involved. Okay, well, we're going to go away somewhere else." Right?
yeah,
And then all you're left with, the only people who care enough about the game are the people who love what Sweet Baby's doing. That's all who care about the game at that point.
yeah.
And everybody else is saying, oh, yeah, it's one of them Sweet Baby games. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
you get either no interest from the broader community and really, really intense, loving interest from those few people who are going to be willing to play a Sweet Baby Inc. game.
Yeah.
So there you have it. I mean, every review could be positive, but who's reviewing it is the question. I mean, is this people who came just because they want to watch a Southern story? It's like, have you not seen this ever before? I mean, they act like they haven't. And it's silly because it's pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to act like, oh, because not every single game is woke. The ones that are woke are rare or something. I don't know what they're trying to argue here. Like, because frankly,
Yeah,
it's
I
been
don't know.
rampant. So if they wanted a woke game, I don't know what they were waiting for, because there's been dozens of them. I mean, hell, just go play Veilguard. It's just as woke as this is.
Yep. Or
I mean,
or Avowed.
and no doubt, people will leave positive reviews on Avowed and Veilguard. They'll leave positive reviews on it, but that's because they're in the niche. They're in the group that it's targeted for. That doesn't mean the game is definitely objectively good, or that they didn't mess with it in any real way just because a couple of people liked it. I mean, the broader community is completely gone away from this South of Midnight game and gone away from Veilguard and Avowed and all the others that are in that category. They've gone away from them precisely because the game has this influence in it. Now, obviously, if anyone's examining gaming history, none of us give a damn about the issues they pretend we do. It's like, imagine if somebody comes up to you and says, I know you've never cared about this before, but I think you do care about it. And you say, well, now that you mention it, I guess maybe I do. But before you were going to mention it, I didn't. Right? So you'd say, they'll come along and say, well, see, we put a bunch of black characters in the game and then they're all offended. It's like, that's not why we're offended at all. Because we didn't care before at all. We didn't care at all. What we cared about was you making a good game. But now all you guys do is make games where all we're supposed to pay attention to is the race of the characters.
You want a good game? I'm showing you guys one on screen right now.
And so whenever we see a game that where we know that they're jamming a certain race of characters into the game, we go, yeah, I'm not touching that because I know what they're doing here. And it's not because of the race of the characters of the game. It's because we know who's doing that and why. They're the one who's annoying us with this bullshit.
Yep.
And we're not trying to help them because they keep making, and they've ruined enough IPs as it is. I mean, we're sick and tired of their presence in the gaming industry. And so even if the game has some positive attributes, positive qualities, I'm sure there are technically woke games that have been left in the dust, which we'll revisit and go, maybe it was okay. Maybe that'll happen. But it's their fault for being this way. They could have just made hey, they could have just said, hey guys, here's a new game. It's a game about a couple of characters. They don't do that. They say, hey everybody, it's a new game. And it's black as hell. It's like, guys, we know what you're doing here. It's kind of like it's an unwritten situation. It's an unspoken message. It's like Drinker always says the message, right? We can tell when the message is involved. And we're not trying to hear that shit. We already were going to treat everybody equally from the start.
Mm-hmm.
My generation and younger, we're already going to treat people perfectly fairly, regardless of any of that racial crap. None of us are racists.
Yeah.
But they have to go and say, we think you're racist. And then like, we're not. And they say, well, I'll prove it to you. I'll make a game that's literally nothing but one race of people. And you're going to be mad. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be mad because that's not how you focus the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how you make a game. You don't make a game and say, oh, well, it's a good game because of the races of the characters. Who fucking says that besides a racist?
Here's a game I'm showing everybody on screen that doesn't focus on race at all. It focuses on gameplay and happens to have a good-looking character lead. But that's not the center point of the game. It's the gameplay. It's the story of it.
Yeah.
And is also our 2024 Game of the Year for PlayStation, Stellar Blade, which, coincidentally, is coming to Steam this year in the month of my birthday, June. From Shift Up and PlayStation Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
So, for anyone who prefers PC and Steam, Stellar Blade will be coming in give or take about a month from now, because it is May. Actually, that reminds me. May the 4th be with you. It's May 4th today.
Yeah, but Star Wars is well. They're officially dragging its corpse around.
I got something for Star Wars.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Yeah.
And it's been a while since that's been relevant.
Well, yeah, and thankfully it's been the horror show that is The Acolyte will not continue, thankfully.
Yeah. Which means that we need a new one for Star Wars or soon.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure the Andor situation is the current thing.
Yeah, well, we needed one that would be universal, that would not have a shelf life.
I mean, the terrible thing about the Andor situation is that Andor series is not that bad. It really isn't. And then they go and do some crap like they've done this season.
Yeah.
And it's like, it could have been good. And now it's just like, meh.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, yeah, whatever. Here we go again with this bullshit again.
Yeah.
More political insertions.
The name of Boba Fett's starship, the Slave One. Oh my god, we can't have that. But a Star Wars character raping another in a Disney TV show. A-okay. Yeah, I see where your priorities are, Disney. Nord?
Yeah, no, it's and their argument was the reason we can't have his ship be the Slave One, even though it was the Slave One, is because kids might watch this, and that's not appropriate for kids. Like, okay, but now it's rapey time, and it's fine.
And that's perfectly fine for grandma, mom, dad, the kids, everybody. Apparently, all of it leads to this simple thought in regards to what Disney is doing with Star Wars with this whole rape nonsense here. Come on,
what was that?
Brother, what's that?
What's that, brother?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I always like that one. It's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Always relevant.
Well, it's definitely fitting with where Star Wars is right now for everyone.
Yeah, no. And the thing is that, again, Star Wars is another IP where we know where they're going with all of it.
Yeah.
What's old is good and what's new really isn't. With that.
But as you guys know that here in the underground, this channel is not, nor will it ever be monetized. So we can say what we need to say here on YouTube via StreamYards. Because, like, with this recent album release by Tom McDonald, I too am proud to be a problem. Anything you want to add, Nord?
Well, I mean, the only thing I'd like to add about the whole situation with Star Wars right now
Yeah.
is, yeah, it's May the 4th. And yeah, that's supposed to mean something. But it's really difficult to find any solace in the entire IP at this point. It's still in the hands of KK and the clown show at Lucasfilm. So it's still really, really difficult to convince myself that it's worth a damn.
Yeah.
I mean, the games that they make for it can sometimes be okay these days, maybe, but they're not breaking any land speed records. They're going to end up having to sell Star Wars to some other company sooner or later because they're going to end up losing more money than they're making. And as we know in business, that's the ultimate defeater. Nobody's in business just to, have fun wasting somebody else's money. People get in business to make money.
Yeah.
And if they're not doing that, then sooner or later, the keys to the car are getting taken away.
Yeah, and Nord and I understand, even though we're not in the gaming industry, we're just gamers who get on here and just talk about this stuff. But you don't need a fucking degree to see the writing on the wall when it's in neon lights and the gaming industry can't fucking see it. Case in point, all these failures, all these layoffs, and yet they're jacking the prices up of fucking everything. We're in the middle of watching the collapse of the console gaming market as we speak right now. Bro?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's they keep it up. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'll end up with a situation where everyone in the gaming community, or at least the majority, goes the other way.
Yeah.
Away from console gaming entirely.
Yeah, and towards Steam, like we were saying about before.
Yeah, I mean,
if you have access to it, like I do with my gaming laptop here,
attractive.
Yeah.
I mean, there are good games you can get for free on Steam.
Mm-hmm. And there's also games really good ones that you could get on Steam for like $5, and for like the $80 that Nintendo wants, you could get like 15 good games for that price, and still have like $10 left over.
Yeah,
a lot of times.
They're just taking their customers for granted.
Yeah. Nintendo
and that's another
and
thing that
Xbox, and to a point, PlayStation is as well, even though PlayStation hasn't really said anything. In fact, the smart decision, from my point of view, for PlayStation with all this price hike stuff of games and $80 games is just to sit there and go, oh, we got a new game coming out. And just keep the status quo like you did in 2013 when you launched the PlayStation 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got to do. And people will go, Nintendo Switch for that price? Nah. PlayStation 5 and it's not $80 games? Okay, yeah, sure. Let's go do that. It's just that simple. Anything you want to add, bro?
Oh no, I think I probably said everything I need to say about all that crap.
Yep, we covered everything, took care of everything that we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
And on the way out, we will remind you guys of great gaming and remind you of what a woman is. I think you know where I'm going, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. I know where you're going with that.
Whom was also one of the characters of the year for 2024. So with that, guys, thank you guys for checking out Breaking Rocks 68. Next time will be episode 69, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, we'll leave you with my favorite character from 2024 and the game of the year for 2024 from Nord and myself. Say goodnight, bro.
You guys have a good one.
The joke was you were supposed to say goodnight, bro.
Yeah. Good night, bro. Yeah.
Good night, everyone. Well, it's actually not good night. It's like 10 minutes to noon.
Well, as we say, whatever time it is in your time zone.
Or as Craig Ferguson would say, in your region.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you guys in the next one. Let's let Eve take us out this time.
Taki? Eve, are you alright? This place is dangerous. Take my hand.
I will never say I'm sorry, I ain't taking nothing back. I don't care if I offend you.